Welcome back on Good Morning Artesia, and we're going to do our Wednesday Artesia Public Schools segment. And with us is Assistant Superintendent, Secondary Education, Mr. Danny Parker. Good morning, Danny.
Good morning, Gene.
And Assistant Superintendent of Danny Parker.
And a couple of other things.
And a couple of other things, Miss Tammy Davis. Good morning, Tammy.
Good morning. How are you, Gene?
Actually, officially elementary and federal programs?
Yes, sir.
Ooh, you get to read all that paperwork and...
There is some paperwork involved.
Yeah, a lot of reading on the computer and...
There's plenty of that.
Calling people. Now, what does this mean?
Federal programs in Artesia is basically our bilingual education, bilingual multicultural educational programs, and our title, which is in Artesia, in all of our elementary schools, we have title support for reading.
Okay.
And so I
all
look
important
over
stuff.
all those things.
Yeah, make sure that that's being done and kids are being helped with that. At the board meeting the other night, you were telling me a lot of folks got some recognition.
We did. We had several groups that we recognized at the board meeting on Monday night. We have not been able to use our auditorium because of our renovations, which are going to be amazing. But because of that, we've had to use some different facilities, and we wanted to recognize Faith Baptist Church because they've let us use their facilities for a couple of teacher meetings, and then Bulldogs on Review was there this last week, and we really appreciate them opening up their facilities and using their people, and it's been a really good experience. And also quality janitorial, because if you use the facilities on Saturday night, somebody has to clean up before Sunday morning.
Right.
So quality janitorial's been great to jump in there and help us and get all those things squared away. So we really appreciate those groups that have supported us during this renovation time at the auditorium. Also, we had Veterans Day program on a Friday,
yeah.
the 11th, and the boys basketball team, Coach Mondragon and his guys, went and put up all the flags early in the morning. I'm assuming they were there when I got there.
Right.
And then our third graders at each of the elementary schools do a medley of patriotic songs for the veterans, and Tessa Martinez, Brianna Delgado, and Ruth Brake, change names, I have to get that one. They are our elementary music folks, and they teach those kids all of those songs. And what lots of people don't realize is those kids never get together and practice. They practice at their individual schools, get together that morning, and just did a beautiful job.
Yeah.
And then also our high school band that played for us and played taps, and Lisa Dillon and her group did a great job as always.
Yeah. So, no, that was enjoyable. There was one of the young kids said to me, "Which one?" And I said, "Which one what? Which one?" I'm not sure I understand. Which one what? Which one? And so finally, one of the teachers came over and which one goes first? And she told them we all sing at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought, well, if he'd have said those other two words,
They're so helpful.
I could have answered that question. I just I didn't know the rest of what he was thinking. So I don't know if I'd be a good elementary school teacher.
You have to fill in a lot of blanks.
Well, that was good.
Well, and you know, though all those things that are extra, things that go on, like Tammy said, we've had a couple of teacher meetings also at Faith Baptist Church, and it always seems to fall on our maintenance department to make those things work. And boy, it's just a lot of extra work when things aren't done at our place, and they're just really good. Mr. Seimer may grumble a little bit, but they really are good to get in there and just make sure that our kids have what they need. And we were talking at our administrative meeting the other day about how you go into other places and it really makes you appreciate what our maintenance crew does here in Artesia, and I mean everything is just always in tip-top shape, and they're a good group to have around. And we helped move the platforms from Faith Baptist after Saturday night show, and one of the guys said, "Boy, I'm glad y'all do that. Y'all need to have a little better appreciation of what goes on." And I did. Sunday morning, I really had an appreciation when my back was hurting, but no, it was good, and we really do appreciate those guys, and they don't get the recognition they deserve for sure.
Yeah, so we want to take time to do that, and I'm sure you did at the board meeting. And then I also wrote down Written in Red.
Yes,
they did their shoe drive, right?
This is shoe drive time for Written in Red, and that's a great event. It's fun to get to watch kids get shoes that have needed shoes, and they do a great job in supporting us in that. And a couple of our elementary schools, for their community fundraiser this fall, they chose to give their money to Written in Red.
Oh, okay.
So Yeso and Central, both between them, donated about $3,000 to Written in Red from the elementary kids. And we really try to encourage our kids at a very young age to give back to the community and how important that is. And so we're really proud of those two schools. And I'm sure lots of shoes are being put on a lot of feet today.
Well, that's very helpful, especially when it's chilly like it has been the last couple of days.
And the high school's having their event on Friday.
Okay.
Friday afternoon. That's a fundraiser for Written in Red. You know, we used to have United Way Day or United Fun Day, and since the United Fund in North Eddy County is not around anymore, we have lots of places that are good recipients of that, and so Written in Red, of course, they do a lot for our kids. They do eye exams for kids and glasses, and they do dental exams for our kids, and in addition to the shoe drive and the stuff the bus drive at the beginning of the year for school supplies, and then
The scholarships.
The scholarships, for other places up and down the valley, and so we really appreciate Tate and Candy Branch and the Written in Red Foundation. They do good things for our kids.
Absolutely.
The new thing this year they're doing for us is classroom teachers that have ideas of things that they'd like to innovate in their classroom, try in their classroom, experiments, things like that. They're offering a scholarship that they can apply for to get supplies and do some of those neat and innovative things. And
that the teachers can apply for?
Yes,
okay.
for their classroom. And so we're excited to see how that's going to turn out. So.
Okay. Yeah, they're looking to award one to a secondary teacher and one to an elementary teacher. So
that's big.
Yeah, it really is big.
Yeah.
Well, in our last segment, we had a senior basketball player. And Danny, I know you want to talk about graduation requirements that are being talked about up in Santa Fe, and how that might affect our seniors this year or in future years. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it'll definitely be for future years. We won't change things up for Audrey, at this point. But and actually, it's in statute that that graduation requirements can't be changed for a student after they enter ninth grade. And so the graduation requirements that the Legislative Education Study Committee is looking at will affect a future group of ninth graders. In the first iteration of their proposal, it was actually for next year's ninth graders. It could have been for next year's ninth graders, and we've really asked for it, slow down a little bit, because so many of the changes could affect things that we know about right now, like staffing, but also there's unintended consequences when you make big changes like that, and you think, oh, we didn't think about that. But I think they're generally a positive. It's just there's a lot of things that we have to look at. The first one is right now you have to have 4 credits. It'd be 8 credits for the Artesia High School. They count them a little to get 2 credits a year, but we'll use the PEDS vernacular. 4 credits of English, 4 credits of math, 3.5 credits of social studies, and 3 credits of science. What the LESC started with their proposal was to go 4 for all of them. They call it the 4x4. And they have backed off on the science, because that would mean we would need 25% more science sections. And we're having a hard time getting science teachers right now anyway. And if every district in the state would have to add those, it could really be a mess. So they have backed off. It's now 4, 4, 4, and 3 for science. In social studies, there's lots of talk about that. One of the requirements currently is New Mexico history, a half a credit in 9 through 12, and there's not in this new one. And so, you know, some people really are concerned about that. That's a good word. And we do teach New Mexico history in 4th grade. We do have New Mexico history in 7th grade, but a lot of people think we need to continue that. Another thing that our board feels pretty strongly about is having some sort of financial literacy requirement. It's not in the LESC proposal, but our board feels very strongly that kids need to know about compound and simple interest and what credit cards do to you and how credit affects everything. And you know, there's a lot to that, and so it's something that we have to work through. So the legislature will take these new the study committee will present theirs to the committees in both the House and the Senate, and you know, it has to go through the committee, and then it goes to the House, and if it keeps going, then you know, the House will vote on it, the Senate will vote on it, and then the governor will have to take a look at it, and then it goes back to rulemaking. How is this going to, how does this legislation affect the rules that the schools have to follow, and then our board would look at that and they would make the final determination on what the Artesia Public School students would do. We right now we require 2 more credits than the state requires in Artesia, and so you know, I would see certain things like that. The financial literacy would probably be a Artesia only requirement. There may be other districts want to do that, but it's there's a lot to it, and you know, I really want people to be aware. We're trying to educate people, and I'm sure we'll have some informational things you know, that go out, or meetings that where people can talk about and give feedback. We talked to our parent advisory council yesterday about it, and they had things that they thought were important that needed to be added as well. And so it's a big process. There'll be a lot of talk about it between now and the end of the session, and we'll see where it goes.
Keep your eye on that. You know, I grew up in Iowa, and I can tell you that New Mexico history would not have been of any value at all.
Did you take Iowa history?
But I did take Iowa history.
Currently, there are only 12 states that require a state-specific history as a graduation requirement. We talked about take Texas history out, and there'll be a revolution over there.
That's not happening.
Yeah, I think it's important, but it does sound like I guess the juggling act is that if it's not in the state requirements, Artesia could still have it as their requirement, but you still have to have time in the school schedule to have all these different things.
And Gene, we're working really hard, and we talked with our PAC yesterday to recognize that different students have different paths that they want to take, and all of those are equal. And we want to recognize our kids that want to take career tracks, our kids that are headed to Ivy League colleges. We want to provide the support that every one of those students needs to be successful, and we want to make sure that the graduation requirements allow for that.
Very good. Danny Parker, Tammy Davis, thank you so much for being here. And you're going to get some calls.
Yeah, we will.
But it's all good. So,
it is.
all right, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Gene.
And we'll see you guys around town. It's 8 o'clock.
Townhall.com.